Hello, I'm Amy the Bunny Lady, and this is my partner Elusive, Ellie for short. High five! Good job! And today we're going to talk about how much it actually costs to keep a pet rabbit, because they're not as cheap a pet as many people think. If you're new to our channel, welcome. We give tips and tricks for how to make sure you have a happy and healthy bunny in your home. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscription button and the notification bell next to it so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. And don't forget to check out all of our cute and funny bunny designs in the merch shop below. You can get a bunch of t-shirts or tank tops, sweatshirts, whatever you're looking for. So definitely check that out if you want cute bunny stuff. My goal here is to encourage informed pet care. That way when you get a rabbit, you know what to expect. It's not to scare you away. It's not to scare you away from getting rabbit at all, because they aren't the most expensive pet. Compared to most dogs, rabbits are typically on average relatively cheap. It obviously will depend on your rabbit and whether or not they have any medical issues, but I will be talking about that a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is first go over the initial costs that you can expect when you get a rabbit. And then I'll go over the monthly ongoing costs that I have, and then other costs that you want to think about so that you can be prepared for them when they come up. Because it is really important to make sure that you budget for your pet and you keep them in mind, so that you make sure to consider them in your monthly budgeting if you do that, and you make sure you have an emergency fund ready for your pet if something does happen. Okay, so first let's go over the initial cost of a rabbit. This will be both the cost of the rabbit, the cost of getting an enclosure for them, the cost of supplies that they need. So first let's talk about just the cost of the rabbit. Now this can vary dramatically depending on where you get your rabbit. If you get your rabbit at an animal shelter, which I always recommend checking your local animal shelter first, usually you can get a rabbit anywhere from $35 to $50 at an animal shelter. It will depend on your shelters, but a typical range will be anywhere from $35 to $50. However, if you get your rabbit from a breeder, then it can end up costing quite a bit of money. Again, this will depend on the breeder, but I would expect to spend at least $200 if you're getting your rabbit directly from a breeder. And so the cost here can vary. When you first get your rabbit, you're also going to make sure you have some basic supplies set up for them as well. This is going to include their enclosure, their food and water bowls, their litter box, things like nail clippers and a brush for grooming them, a hiding house, because rabbits usually will feel better if they have some place where they can hide when they get scared. You'll also want a hay bin, and you're going to want to make sure you get supplies for rabbit proofing. See, rabbits have the tendency to dig and chew on things that maybe they shouldn't. So they might chew on wooden furniture or chew on wooden baseboards or try to dig into carpet. So you want to make sure that you have supplies ready to make sure your rabbit can't do any damage there. You're also going to want to make sure that you get some kind of carrier for your rabbit. I do have a video going over my recommended brand of carrier. However, you can get a cheaper one as well, and make sure that when you have them in the car that you securely put them in back of one of either the passenger or driver's seat in order to keep your rabbit safe during a drive. So all in all, the cost for all of the supplies in this category should put you at about $300 to $500. That is in addition to the cost of the rabbit. So now I want to go over the ongoing monthly cost that you should expect. Monthly, you're going to want to make sure that you get your rabbit litter, hay, pellets, and fresh leafy greens. And you can also remember that you can buy most of these, except for the fresh greens. You can buy most of these in bulk so that it doesn't have to be a monthly cost. These amounts also might be adjusted a little bit depending on how big your rabbit is. So small rabbits will be a little bit cheaper to feed on a monthly basis, whereas larger rabbits, you'll need to end up feeding them more. So also take that into account. So then your total monthly cost will probably be about $150, but this is just kind of an approximate. It might be less, might be more, depending on where you can get your supplies. Like if you can get a big bale of hay for cheap from a local farmer, then that's going to significantly reduce the cost. Same with if you grow your own leafy greens, that's going to significantly reduce the cost of how much you need to spend on that every month. So make sure that you're prepared for the cost of the monthly upkeep of having a pet rabbit. Now there are some other costs that I want to make sure that I address. One would be the spay and neuter surgery for your rabbit. Now if you adopt your rabbit, most shelters will try to spay and neuter them before you adopt them, but it is necessary to get your rabbit spayed or neutered, especially female rabbits, because female rabbits have about an 80% chance of getting some kind of uterine cancer by the time they are 6 years old. It really is vitally important to make sure that you get them spayed. Neutering also can eliminate the chance of males getting a reproductive cancer as well, and it can usually fix some behavioral issues such as spraying and some aggressive behavior. The problem is this is not necessarily a cheap procedure, so you do want to make sure that you budget for this when you get your rabbit, because getting them fixed when they're young still is definitely ideal. So in the 6 to 12 month range is usually when you would want to get them fixed. However, the cost of this can be quite expensive. Generally, you can expect anywhere from $300 to $600. You do, however, want to make sure you go to a veterinarian that has experience with rabbits, because their anatomy is different than cats and dogs. You can check the House Rabbit Society vet listing to see if you can find a rabbit vet near you, or the other thing you can do is to call a veterinary office nearby and just ask for a recommendation for a rabbit vet in the area, because they'll be able to point you in the right direction. Another cost that you want to make sure that you keep in mind is making sure you get an annual vet exam for your rabbits. So this is just an annual wellness exam, same as me and you going in for a physical. Your vet will be able to make sure your rabbit is healthy, their teeth seem to be good, making sure that they are a healthy weight, on a good diet, and they can also help you prevent some health problems before they become a serious issue. For vet offices that I've been to, it was about $75 at one, whereas it was about $100, $115 at another. But generally for this annual wellness exam, you can expect it to be around $75 to about $200. It will, again, depend on your specific vet office. You also want to make sure that you are prepared for other emergency medical problems, medical issues, because things can happen. Maybe your rabbit's teeth are overgrowing, maybe they have GI stasis, which is a common yet serious condition in rabbits. So you do want to make sure you have some kind of emergency fund set aside for your rabbit just in case. I know for me, a minor medical issue with GI stasis, getting them to the vet pretty quickly costs about $300, and that's probably about the bottom of what you would expect. But I also know my roommate at one point her rabbit had a liver torsion and ended up having to be hospitalized and stay there for a couple days, and that cost upward of $2,000. So I do recommend being prepared for a large cost if possible. So even though we hope this never happens, it's always a possibility, and you do want to make sure that money doesn't prevent you from getting your pet the help that they need. So try to make sure that you start, saving and budgeting so that you can have an emergency fund available just in case. And then the other thing that you need to make sure you think about, because it's so easy to forget, is the possibility of pet sitters or boarding your rabbit if you ever want to go on vacation or something. You need to make sure that you think about how much that's going to cost. Now, if you have a family member who is willing to take your rabbit, that's obviously the easiest way to go. But if not, pet sitters can cost $50+ a day to come and take care of your rabbit. That's another cost that you really want to think about, or you want to think about your plan for when you go on vacation so that you already know what you're going to do. You know who's going to take your rabbit and take care of them so that you can be prepared for that ahead of time. So I hope this is useful for you, especially if you're just thinking about getting a rabbit or thinking about getting one sometime soon, or you maybe just got one and want to have a better idea of what you should expect, because it's not as cheap as you thought. Rabbits are typically not as expensive as dogs, but I think cats are probably a little bit cheaper than rabbits. It kind of depends on the health of your pet in that case. So definitely take the cost of everything into consideration. And don't forget to sign up for the Bunny Lady mailing list. We'll give you tips and tricks on a bi-monthly basis. And in your first email, you'll get a PDF going over all of the basics of rabbit care, everything from what to feed them to basic rabbit behavior that you need to be aware of. So definitely sign up if that's something you're interested in. And thank you so much for watching. I do hope to see you next time.